So welcome to Thanx. I'll tell you a little more Thanx at the end, and actually throughout the presentation, and we can have a lot of Q&A. But today I want to talk about mobile applications, a trend that we are pouncing on, and we think lots of mobile app developers are actually going on. So there are currently 1.5 million apps in the iOS App Store. That number is growing massively. We're just one of those. And the growth is continuing pretty consistently in the last 7 years. And so what you can see here, June or July 2008, there were 800 apps. You can see the growth. You look at this, if you're a brand, if you're a tech company, if you're a restaurant, if you're a retailer, and a very natural thing to think is, I have to be in the App Store. No matter what I'm producing, it's got to have my brand on it, and I have to be in the App Store. Apps are the future, and I'm going to jump in. And this is what we're seeing, kind of peer pressure, if you will, to get your app out there. Unfortunately, upon closer inspection, the world of the app is not quite as rosy for many of these brands. Of that entire universe, the average consumer has 26 apps on their phone. To make that even more profound, 84% of your time browsing outside of installed apps on your phone, so that's your phone, text messaging, etc., is spent in just 5 apps. Most of those being social media related apps, some of them being work related apps. 5 apps, 84% of your time. So 1.5 million apps are not really being touched by the average consumer. Really, it's 5. 10% of apps are downloaded and never opened. If you think about your experience, you've probably done it. We're all guilty of it. 20% of apps are downloaded, opened once, and never opened again. That's now 30% of apps that are just not being used. So a lot of time, energy, effort is being put into developing these apps because if you're a brand, technology company, a retailer, a restaurant, whatever it is, you think, I gotta get in. And yet, that seems to be a lot of wasted effort if you're not building something that consumers value. So according to Forrester, who published this study that I'm quoting some of these numbers from, instead of trying to appeal broadly to every human out there, instead of even trying to appeal to every potential user or potential customer, you should focus your app on your best customers. Give those people the utility that they need to get some value out of the product that will hopefully crack the top 5, but at least crack the top 26. Frankly, cracking the top 26 is probably not enough because a third of those are not really being used. So when you think of yourself as an app developer and you set the bar at, I need to be one of the 10 best apps on the phone, and probably 9 of those are already spoken for with social media and apps that are required for work, etc. The bar is incredibly high, incredibly high. Now, clearly we at Thanx believe in mobile apps. We build mobile loyalty programs. But we have a different take on what it means to build an app that consumers will engage with and actively use. We believe that one of the challenges slowing down usage of apps is that they take so much effort. If you're going to have to give a lot of energy and attention to an app before you get value out of it, no wonder it gets deleted. No wonder it sits in a folder in the last page of your phone, never to be used, because it's high effort. Applications must be entirely effortless in order for you to engage with them as a consumer. So at Thanx, we actually have taken this and made it the core of our business. And so we'll dive in on what Thanx does, and I think it's a good analogy for why Effortless is such a guiding principle for how we think about mobile development. What we do at Thanx is we help merchants build deeper relationships with their best customers. That's our entire mission. Unlike an e-commerce merchant, unlike pretty much any enterprise business actually, brick and mortar restaurants and retailers are largely flying blind about who their best customers are. They have no clue. And in a data-driven world, that means the average merchant is operating without any data at all about their customers. So this is a problem. The traditional solution to this problem are loyalty programs. right? We've all had them, plastic cards, phone numbers, whatever it is that you have to do. And this works. We're actually making an implicit exchange as a consumer. I agree that in exchange for getting rewards and VIP experiences at my favorite businesses, they can track my spending. That's the deal we're making, right? We don't think about it in those terms so explicitly that often, but that's effectively the deal we're making. What's interesting though is that consumers don't hold up their end of that bargain. 60% of consumers that sign up for a loyalty program churn out in the first 6 months. So I go through the effort of signing up, and then I forget my plastic card. Or I don't want to jump through the hoop that is typing in my phone number, or whatever it is. So now we have a program that makes so much sense for the merchant and for the consumer, except it's not working. It's failing. It's in everyone's interest to keep earning at their favorite merchants. So why are these programs failing? What's going wrong? The answer is because we're humans. We're lazy. We don't like to jump through hoops. We don't like to give a bunch of energy, even if we're getting something in exchange. The bar is high. And so the analogy here is actually very similar for mobile apps. You cannot make people jump through hoops. So yes, we've moved loyalty to mobile, but moving loyalty to mobile is not enough. This is where the two kind of combine. If I have to open an app and check in on my phone, if I have to engage with an iPad and type in my phone number, if I have to scan a QR code, I have to take a picture of a receipt. Frankly, if I have to do anything as a consumer in order to get rewarded, I'm going to churn. And so moving loyalty to mobile doesn't actually solve the problem. Making it effortless is the key to loyalty, and in fact is the key to mobile engagement. And so what does that mean? What does that mean? We're solving a problem that says 60% of people that sign up for loyalty programs are gone. You're not getting any data about them 6 months later. That's what we want to change. So how is Thanx different? First off, consumers walk into any business and purchase as usual. They don't even get the phone out of their pocket. They just make a purchase. That's because Thanx is linked to any credit or debit card. So consumer walks in, purchases, and walks out. And just like you're earning rewards through your American Express, now you're earning rewards at Joe's Pizza. Now you're earning rewards at your local nursery, at your bowling alley. Wherever you go, you can earn rewards by paying as usual. This is adding 0 steps to the payment to checkout experience. This is key. Second, when you make those purchases, your status in the rewards program and your progress pops up, is pushed to you in real time via your phone. We're not requiring you to open an app, not to earn rewards, not to find out how you're progressing towards that next reward. It's pushed actively to you. This is a key difference because now we're using an app as a notification platform, not as something that I need to be hammering on constantly. Third, joining another merchant's program is as simple as making a purchase. Why should I have to enroll over and over again when I've already done that? Well, walk into a new merchant I've never been to, make a purchase, I'm automatically enrolled in that program. Congratulations, you're part of Joe's Pizza's loyalty program. You can opt out if you want. Big surprise, and no one does. And finally, the last piece, how do I actually get rewarded? Because at the end of the day, a loyalty program needs to reward me if it's going to change my behavior. We can push cash discounts straight back to your credit card. Now, again, you have not opened up your phone in any way. The phone is secondary to what's going on. It's supportive. It's useful. If you want to know more information about which merchants you're enrolled with, if you want to know your progress towards rewards, you can open the app at any time. But it is not a requirement. And this, we believe, is where application development is going, just as we think this is where loyalty is going. So, as I said, this all works because Thanx is tied to your credit card. And last year we actually demoed it. There's not a lot of people here, so we won't do it now. But the experience is just that. Any credit card, walk in and pay. That means something that's really unique in the application world. We're a rare application that is perfectly comfortable being in a folder on the last page of your phone. When you think about it, how many applications can say that? It's very unusual to be okay, if you're an app, being buried because then you're in that 30% that never gets opened or never gets used. We're okay being in that 30% because we're pushing value to you actively, whether you open the app or not. And so, interestingly, with such a challenge of mobile app engagement, one of the solutions is actually to stop asking your consumers to do so much. Engage with consumers the way they want to be engaged with. And the impact of this truly effortless experience directly changes the results for our customers. As opposed to 60% churn out of the average loyalty program, we see 2% churn. Once a consumer has enrolled with Thanx, they're automatically earning rewards. It's a 30% improvement on data capture. Ultimately, data capture means revenue. And so a 30% improvement is massive. Now, we're not the only ones that are focused on how to make things effortless. You're seeing a trend out of Apple right now on how to make things effortless. Let's look at payments. Apple didn't create mobile payments. We've seen lots of people creating new ways to pay. What Apple did is strip out a lot of the steps required to complete your payment. There are apps that existed before that I had to get out my phone, unlock, find the app, open the app, go to the payment screen, and hold it in front of hardware. It's a lot of steps. It's particularly a lot of steps when what they're trying to get me to stop doing is get out my wallet, whip out a credit card, swipe it, and leave, which is not that hard. Apple had this realization that unless they can rival, or in fact be, the efficacy and the effortlessness of paying by credit card, no one's going to use it. So with Apple Pay, you get out your phone, you hold it in front of a reader, put your phone away. Much, much different. Simpler, effortless, no app required at all to pay with Apple Pay. Passes and cards. This is something that Apple introduced a couple of years ago, but they're innovating on. They just announced Wallet with loyalty integrations. How do I get value out of my phone without opening an app? Well, when I walk into an airport and I have a boarding pass and they know that the time is close to my departure and I'm at the airport because of geolocation, that boarding pass is on my home screen. That's useful. I'm not searching through my phone for Delta, United, whatever. The boarding pass is waiting for me. This is almost so effortless that we've been calling it a no-app app. Functionality that is front and center on my phone without searching through my apps. The last is the notification center. This has been less heralded, but you now can get a huge amount of functionality from your phone without opening an app. Sports scores, stock tickers, you can reply to text messages directly from the notification center. We are decentralizing the concept of an app. We basically had the internet and mobile web with everything you wanted available, and then we decided to limit it down into apps because of a lot of functionality. And what we're seeing now is the decentralization, again, of this information outside of apps. Consumers don't want to have every app on their phone. When you think about it, the world we live in every day, restaurants and retailers that are all building their own app, no wonder they're not getting engagement. Because why would we want to have 50 different apps at places that we go occasionally? Now, it's worth pointing out, we're engaging with all of these. Pay with Apple Pay, automatically get loyalty rewards through Thanx. No change. We're tied to the payment. So no added steps at checkout. This is different than what you do at Walgreens currently, where you pay with Apple Pay and it's a wonderful experience, but you have to type in your phone number as well. Why do I have to jump through that extra hoop? Shouldn't exist. Passes and cards, all of our loyalty programs are dropped automatically into Passbook or into Wallet. They can pop up through geolocation so that when you're near that area, we can remind you of the reward. Widgets, you can actually check your progress in real time across all of your different merchants without opening the app. And then, of course, I mentioned earlier, the cash gets pushed straight back to your credit card. You now have a complete consumer experience in loyalty without ever opening our app. That lowers the barrier. Stick us in a folder. Put us on the back page of your phone. This is where apps are moving to. So, effortless for the consumer is a big piece of this. It clearly matters a lot. But we strive to be effortless for the merchant as well. So step one on that front is eliminating all integration and hardware for our merchants. This same concept actually exists on the business side. If you make people jump through hoops, financial, energy, time, whatever the cost is, they won't participate. The loyalty programs historically have made merchants jump through massive hoops. New hardware, big integrations, a lot of effort. We eliminate all of that by tying it to the card. Perhaps most importantly though, loyalty programs are about data. And many of the merchants we work with, large and small, even if given the ideal data set, wouldn't know what to do with it. They're not in the business of analyzing data. This is new to them. And so making that challenge, figuring out what data assets they have and activating it, that's core to making an effortless merchant experience, right? And so what does that look like? We want to deliver ROI for our merchants. We want to help them activate the data. Let's look at one example of what we call one-click marketing tools. This is automated retention marketing for our merchants. It's similar to stripping out the hassle for consumers. Churn management is probably one of the biggest concerns if you're a retailer, if you're a restaurant, if you're running any business. You look on e-commerce businesses, and they are actively monitoring basket abandonment, bounces from the site, things that represent churn. You are not converting to revenue, and I want to convert you to revenue. But yet, in physical stores, they struggle with this. Because when you walk in and pay for the last time and never come back, that business has no clue that you've left, and they have no way of winning you back in. And by the way, it's advantageous to you as a consumer that you've forgotten about the business and you want to come back. We make that truly effortless. So this is an example of what we call win-back. Identifying 22% of customers that are at risk and have been gone 80 days. Identifying 15% of customers that are already lost and have been gone 142 days. And with one click for a merchant, targeting just those people, not blanket spam to every one of their customers, highly targeted promotions. Dear Zach, you used to be one of our best customers. We miss you and haven't seen you in a while. Can we convince you to come back in? It's a segment of your customers, but a high value segment. They're not the promiscuous customers. They're truly loyal ones. They're not people that are going about their behavior. They have churn. Their behavior has fallen off. Hit them with a promotion at the right time. Good for the merchant, good for the consumer, and it's as easy as clicking one button. This concept of effortlessness, of stripping out friction, is, I believe, a core concept of business of the future. As we look at millennials, millennials are on their phone for 3 hours a day. This is people from between the ages of 20 and 35 currently. 3 hours a day looking at the screen. I read a stat the other day that said millennials have their phone within 2 feet of them 24 hours a day. It's like 23 hours and 48 minutes. Now, if you think about it, when are you away from your phone? No, I'm not away from my phone. That is changing the way we engage, because if it's always there, you can't be asking me to be doing more and more and more. Making it easy is ubiquitous. That's what makes it actually take off. So, these tools, seamless mobile experience, we've been live since 2012. We work in businesses all across the country now, large and small. And what we are seeing is that by stripping out friction, we can drastically increase engagement. This, I think, is a brief exploration into that concept, and there's lots more. Apple is doing it, Android is doing it, and we're actually seeing lots more apps that are notification-based, that are not high engagement-based. I think we'll see a lot more of that as time goes on.